Hey, I'm Alan, and just thought I'd do a real quick sharpening video on these Travisher blades. I've got a lot of guys out there using them now, and sharp is everything. You can have a beautiful tool, but if it's dull, it's just not going to cut well, and if it's sharp, it's just going to cut like a dream. So really, it's the big thing here. So anyway, I'm really simple on how I sharpen them. When they come to you, as in the forging process of the blade, it ends up with this nice hollow grind. And the back I've already flattened. So you'll see there's probably not going to show up great on here, but there's a curve where this is all nice and polished out near each edge. The hollow area in the middle you'll see is recessed. So should you ever have to go and touch up the back, that you're not going to be dealing with as much metal. And I sharpen, flatten the back on these on a Waterstones, and I go up through 8,000 grit, and then I use the block here that they sell that you use, and kind of generates that slurry on the 8,000 grit. So they're really polished out nicely, and really you should never have to touch the back other than light honing. So the only thing that I ever do with mine, and I've been using them 3 years now, is I'll touch up the inside. And I just, if you ever did have to grind it, again, you probably shouldn't, but my grinding when I make these blades, I just take a block that I've simply traced out the profile on. I've got a couple screws, and I'll just screw it to the face of this block with the edge sticking up slightly. Really doesn't matter, and in my case these are up about 3/16 of an inch, maybe a quarter light. And then this allows me to have something to reference off of the grinder. So I can just set my grinder up and rotate them, and then that gives me a fresh hollow ground. Again, you probably won't ever have to do that. But for me, once it gets to that stage, I've got the hollow ground, the back is perfectly flat and shined all the way up through 8,000 grit plus the slurry. Then I go to this diamond cone type slip. And these things are wonderful. 25 or 30 bucks I think is what they run. You'll get a huge life out of one. I think I've had 2 of these, and I've done just a ton of blades all the way through this process, and even the ones that are worn out are great because they're really nice fine grit, and the slurry off of that 8,000 grit stone is wonderful on it. So for me, simply, I will just take it. I don't put the blade on the block for this step. I find that I can feel the bevel better if I just pinch it between my thumb and my finger like that. Take my other finger and put it on the back so it's not trying to rotate away. Then I'll just take the slip and I put it on it, and it just naturally wants to ride on that bevel. It's not trying to jump off this way or this way. And then I'll just take nice passes like this with it, and skewing it does help. And you can spin it around the other way, and you get a little bit more into these corners, but the corners are outside of that cutting area, so they're not necessary. So I'll simply do this, and keep it lubricated with water, and it helps all of those real fine ground off little parts to get off, and you'll find you're more effective. I'll take it through that. Then I will go to the ceramics. Again, the water works well, and if that slurry off of that stone is wonderful on these ceramics. And I'll continue to do this, and I'll watch as I'm doing it. I'll see the light scratches from the diamond disappear. I'll see the sheen start to come up, and as this is going on, you'll see, and I can see it just rotating it against the light. You'll see the little reflection coming off of the burr you're creating as it's being pushed over. So I'll take it along through this step, and that's it. Then I'm going to dry it off, and from here I go to using the green compound, and I use it on a dowel. You can do it, for a long time I did it on my lathe. I kind of power stropped it, but I find I get much better control of it if it's in my hand. I find that the flat of the bevel very easy, and same thing with this, it just rests on there really nicely. As long as your finger's directly behind it, it's really easy to feel. You just want to make sure you're not in danger of slipping off it. So since my finger is a little more exposed here, I go more slowly here. And I'll just carry it through that, and then I'll go to the back side, and I can see that burr is on the back side, and could feel it as well. Now I'll just go to a piece of leather with the compound on it, take a few strokes like that, go back to the dowel with the compound on it, a few passes, go back and forth, and yeah, I can see I've pushed it over, the reflection is gone. Yep. And now it's on the inside, I can feel it. So I'll just continue to do this until it's off. And it really doesn't take much. Just a light touch up between uses is really all you need. And now I can feel it's really feeling good. And then the theory on stropping or dubbing the edge, as I understand it, is any tool that your blade is in, like a hand plane or something where the blade is enclosed, is controlled by the tool, you really don't want to strop or dub edges. That's the theory as I understand it. If it's something that's hand controlled, that dubbing helps you keep the burr where you want, and also gives you that little bit of control. So in the case of that, I always make sure with my Travisher blades, my last pass of anything with the strop is going to be on the outside of it, because that's the part that's in contact with the wood. So in the real fine world, that little burr is curved up this way, that little part of the edge, so the tool's not trying to dive on me as I'm using it. It'll give you that ability to control it in the cut. So you always finish that way, and that's it. And that feels really good and sharp. And saying it's good and sharp is one thing, but I always end up with this lovely look. But I was finished by shaving the hair on my arm, and it just shaved a nice spot there. It's a great look. And once it's sharp enough to shave with, obviously it's sharp enough for woodworking. So that's about it. Alternately, if you don't, you can do it very simply, exact same things with wet-dry paper. Go through the same steps. 600 grit up through, I think this stuff goes through like 2000, and it works just really well. Wrap it tightly on a dowel, and you'll find that you cut down through the various steps really quickly. It won't take much. So even with 1 or 2 sheets of each grit, you're going to be good for a long time, because these blades stay sharp extremely well. I use mine on cherry, walnut. I've done a little bit on oak, pine, alder, stuff like that. The softer woods are not an issue, but that's about it. So keep them sharp and have fun with them. So thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.